why I don't prototype my interactions in Figma and what do I do instead. So I know a lot of designers spend a lot of time crafting these massive, huge boards with all of the different screens for an app, all the different button states and hover, and create it so you basically have a simulation of the entire app inside of Figma. And I've also seen this approach taken for more complex components. Like, let's just use an example of I can't remember the exact name, but these like search boxes. You have an input box, you type something in, it gives you a drop down, and it could be aligned different ways. Auto search something. So this is just one example, but I can think of date pickers. I can think of color selection. I can think of many different types of UI approaches where you don't have a standard way of doing it. Of course, you could approach this in Figma, but what would be the disadvantages? Well, one is that it's not really planted in the reality of the web. Now, while Figma is my favorite design tool, I've moved over from Sketch back in the day, and it's great for creating designs that you can't build in code quickly to show a client before you invest the time to build things. So that's the value in saving time by creating simulated mocks of what the final design might look like or close to. It's not actually the final design. And so why is that? So first thing is, they go a bit further in Figma, and I think it's very good, to design things similar to the way they could be designed on the web. And auto layout's a good example of this. It's simulating in many ways Flexbox or CSS Grid. However, when you use a design tool, you are creating shapes and vector-based elements. And on the web, we are not doing that. We are creating typically divs, and it's much more structured approach. So there are some other design tools that are more closely aligned to this, but because you have its greatest strength as being a design tool, which it is, you can draw freely shapes wherever you want, or frames, or whatever you want to call them. It's not really opt-in by default, and not all designers know how to create things to create a perfect simulation of what you would get in the web. And even if you could do this, it's diminishing returns. It's not going to provide a lot of value. And this is also the reason why a lot of direct code, Figma to code tools fail in many ways, and why a lot of LLMs are also failing, because they're lacking the prerequisite skills in creating what I call, and many others in the industry, called scaffolding. So what is scaffolding and why is it important? Scaffolding is looking at the designs, looking at the interactions, understanding the web, knowing if you need to have a wrapper div or something extra there, and building and naming those things semantically so that you can get something that's going to work well once you apply the CSS and JavaScript to it. So I explained a little bit why Figma is not a good tool for this, and where it's failing, and what's needed instead, the skill. So what do I do instead? Well, I usually create something like a CodePen. If I'm trying out an idea and I want to get buy-in on it, and I want to do something either experimental or something creative, something I'm not too sure about, I will create it in CodePen. Why? Because it is front-end code. It's easily shareable. It's easily tweakable. It can be forked. And you can do the same kind of bottom-up, iterative approaches that you would have in Figma or in something else. And if you know how to code a little bit, there's not a lot of disadvantage to doing that. Even vibe coding, why not? Vibe code something, put it on CodePen, see how it works. Have people try it out on different devices. It's going to be a lot faster process than trying to deploy it to some static website or something else. Put it into Storybook, build a React component. Just prototype it. You can build it in whatever you want, and then you can refine it later. And if you go onto my CodePen, you can see examples of this, both for client projects, non-client projects, because I just leave them up there because they're just small experiments. They don't provide a lot of value in themselves. They provide a lot of value in the user experience when you have it in the actual product. So that's what I use, CodePen. What about you? Do you have another tool that you're using? Do you have another approach for prototyping interactions on the web? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.